services that we have offered have enabled the last mile gain additional value for contributing their data. We've also worked with the SACCOs, and our solutions have helped SACCOs manage their balance sheets better. They've helped SACCOs take care of multiple borrowers. So now you can no longer abuse the financial service in rural areas. What used to happen in the past, people used to borrow from banks. After they failed to pay their loans, they ran down to SACCOs. And we know the SACCOs are built of finances that are gathered in these communities. So to protect these finances, we have introduced credit referencing, and it has helped clean up the last mile.
I mean, I love when you bring in an important aspect, giving value to data. How has that been for you as New Grid, if you could speak to that? Giving value to data. Because you see, there was all this information, previously manually collected, but now this data is being used to make informed decisions, yeah? In as far as supporting communities to be resilient. So, how has that journey been for you?
To be honest, it's been a challenge. Yes, but again, as technology entrepreneurs, as solution providers, this is what we're here to solve. The data referencing space is mainly about information sharing. And that is a new concept for many Ugandan business owners. Everyone thinks that working in a silo is better. But what we have done is we have proven that sharing information, if everyone is an MIS provider, as a contributor in the space, is contributing their information to the CRBs, then we are able to add value to the customers. You're able to know what your customers can afford. So that is how we've been able to do it, but I'll tell you, it's work in progress.
Yeah, nice. I mean, you talk about sharing information, and I look at Engineer Paul, because you know what it looks like in this country when it comes to, information sharing across partners and all of that. So I just have this interesting question. So if you could even be careful to even just mention, which strategic initiatives does the ministry, and by extension government, have in place to ensure that these technology solutions, as you hear from New Grid and Agro Consortium, are actually effectively reaching the communities they need to reach? But away from simply reaching them, that these communities are actually benefiting from these technologies. Yeah? If you could speak to that.
Thank you. So the ministry has several initiatives, and when it comes to initiatives, the ministry does some of these initiatives themselves, and there are those it does through the agencies and under it. I'll start with the initiatives which the ministry is doing by itself. Our first role as a ministry is to create an enabling environment. And how does the ministry do this? We do this through laws, policies, and guidelines. So as a ministry, we have several laws and policies. The most famous and recent policy was the broadband policy, which has really helped in shaping the ICT sector. Then regarding our works through our agencies, we work through UCC. I think you've heard about the Universal Service Fund. This fund is run by UCC. It used to be called RCDF. It's now called UCSAF. When RCDF began, we were looking at just connectivity, just infrastructure. But it has evolved, and now we are looking at other things. We have gone into devices and other things, even supporting software development for people like farmers. Then also through National IT Authority, we have managed to put infrastructure up to district headquarters, and we shall proceed and go to the last mile. We are doing this in the coming years. So as a ministry, we have done a lot as a ministry, and we have also done a lot under our agencies. And just to put this into perspective, we have really gained a lot. I'll give an example of teledensity. When I began working a few years ago, our teledensity was just 30%. Now it is 80%. internet used to cost $5,000 per MB per month. It is now less than $100. All these are things which have worked out through the ministry's initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You see, when we talk about the last mile, most people think the last mile is just the farmers, right? How many of us think it's just the farmers? But you see, when you actually look at the last mile, and this was carefully described, by MasterCard and partners, you talk about young people as the first point. Young people. How many of us know that majority of our population are young people? And where do you think most of these people are located? You think it's us, the guys in Kampala? No, it's not us, the guys in Kampala. It's the people in Kabale, the people in Arua. So it's the young people, it's the smallholder farmers, it's the small businesses. Those are the young people. And I'm being intentional about these things because I want us to broaden our mind when we talk about the last mile. Yeah? You have the young people, you have the women, the smallholder farmers. So my next question then goes to a gentleman who has probably spent a lot more time working with his communities, and that's you, Dixon. So how does Cinnamon Clubs, how do you approach this critical aspect of, integrating technology to empower these communities that I've just referenced to? And these are just a few that define the last mile. So how are you fostering, first of all, inclusion of these communities, making sure young people, women, small businesses are included in this journey, that they're not left behind? How are you fostering that? But also, particularly, how are you enabling these communities to access the resources they need through your technology solution?
Thank you so much, moderator. I know some of you might have heard this statement that Sente was lianga movobi, that you eat your money like a fisherman, meaning you make money and eat it the same day. It didn't make sense until we actually met the people who eat the money the same day. And their reason is very simple. You see, when you save, the lake thinks you've disrespected it. So when you go back to tomorrow, it won't give you fish. And they actually believe it. According to them, the lake says, if I give you fish every day, why are you saving? That means, Tombaze Magezi, loosely translated. That means, why should I give you more fish? People, it is real. Someone told me that Sevo, I don't understand what you're saying, because the one who feeds me is sure is going to feed me tomorrow. So why am I saving? If I disrespect him, that's the lake, he won't give me fish tomorrow, or he might even kill me. So we are starting with mindset change. Mindset change. As in telling them, okay, if you catch 5 fish, sell all of them, but save money for just one. And in saving that money, let's help you manage your records so that you can actually be able to use your records to get a facility. I'll tell you that out of 1,000 fishermen on the lake, out of 100,000, 200 die. And the reason is simple. They don't have simple gadgets like night vision torches. They don't have gadgets like, of course, life jackets. They do not. Why? Because no one can extend them a facility for a night vision torch because they don't have any records. And they're making money every day. So we'll tell them, by the way, you could, even if you save it today, but use half of it tomorrow, it is well. So it's a process of changing their mindset of what people have believed in for the last, I don't know how many years. Some are looking at us as wiseacres, like, man, you guy, you don't know. This lake has fed me and my children. So for you, telling me to disrespect it. Who are you? So we have to go through their LC people, we have to go, basically it's a whole mindset change, because we tell them, on our platform, once we start managing your records, you'll be able to, we have partners who are now able to advance you, are now able to advance you like night vision torches, advance you life jackets, even engines, so that you can do higher purchase and save your lives and even make more and better business. Good enough, now we have partners like New Grid on board, who of course, after agreeing, will be able to give us the credit score of these fishermen or the fishing community, and we'll be able to now advance them. Connect them with partners, we're going to advance them items like night vision, those simple items, so that we save their lives, one, and we help them be bankable. Thank you.
Wow, and that really brings me back to ATRA, because I like when he uses, that live example of what he's doing with the fishing communities. ATRA, how can utilizing shared infrastructure help farmers, first of all, improve their access to market? That's a big issue for most countries, access to market. But there's even a bigger one, bargaining power. Yeah? For those of us who have been to farming, you know how hard it is for you to get a good price for your commodities. So what is the power of leveraging this shared digital infrastructure? He speaks about the fact that they can get information from New Grid to provide the resources, the fishermen need. So how can utilizing this infrastructure do that? But also, in what ways does Agro-Consortium, as an entity, prioritize the inclusion of these marginalized communities? We'd like to know, how are you prioritizing the inclusion?
I'm going to start with inclusion because I'm very passionate about that. So how we're doing that as the Agro-Consortium is taking a deliberate effort to ensure that marginalized groups are insured, that the solutions we are providing speak to marginalized groups. Since we did the move to index insurance, 85% of our portfolio is smallholder farmers, and 35% of that portfolio is women smallholder farmers. But I'd like to just pivot and talk about how with inclusion, it starts from the organizations ourselves, right? I am very happy to work for an organization that's very big on inclusion as a policy. So it starts with us. We employ 50%, more than 50% women. So it starts from the top, and that's disseminated into the way that we actually solution, into the way that we provide what we are providing to the end users. So it's a deliberate effort on our end to ensure that marginalized groups are involved, that we are solutioning for them. So one of our mandates is sensitization. So when we are doing sensitization campaigns, we are very keen on having women farmer groups involved in sensitization. We are very keen on going and sensitizing refugee areas. So I think it starts from the top, it starts from the organizations ourselves, and that way we are able to disseminate it down. So that's on inclusion. On shared infrastructure, honestly, we are stronger together. So collaborating allows for a lot of things. The biggest thing is challenges are tackled as a group as opposed to as an individual. So once the farmers collaborate and come together, they are able to negotiate for better prices, for example. They are able to reduce their operational costs. Storage is very important for farmers. So once you're many, you're able to reduce the cost because you're spending as a group. So you reduce your costs on storage, reduce your costs on transport. So shared infrastructures are very important in the sense that they will allow farmers to have better bargaining power. You can negotiate better as a group of people. We're stronger together.
We are stronger together. Yeah. That phrase, who knows where it comes from? We are stronger together. How many of us have insurance in this room? I'll put my hand down and I first see. Only 2 people have insurance. How many of us have insurance? Don't fear yourself. It can even be just 1K on your account. Yeah, it's okay, it's allowed. Yeah, insurance people. Insurance. You guys will talk to ATRA after here. But I'd like to move to you, Paul. You know, when Atra talks about collaboration, working together, and for those of us in this room, we're probably working on something, a project, a bit a tech project or whatever. I will assume tech because, again, we're in the Uganda Innovation Week. The power of collaboration. But then a question to Paul. How does the ministry collaborate with these private sector partners? So these are all providing solutions for the last mile, for the marginalized community, for your people in the hard-to-reach areas, for me, who is deep down in Nachifuma. Yeah? So how does government, or government by extension, again, you forgive us, but you're representing government in a way here. How does the ministry and government by extension collaborate with the private sector partners that are providing these tech solutions to bridge this digital divide? Because there is a challenge before us, a glaring digital divide that is growing every single day. Yeah? Every single day that passes, if we're not doing something about this, it means this child that has just been born today in Mulago at probably about 1 p.m. does not have a future. By the way, doesn't have a future because there is no deliberateness in bridging this divide. Also, how are you working with partners, these partners, private sector partners, to make sure that their solutions, in a way, promote sustainable growth of these communities? Because it's one thing for Dixon to go to a fish group, maybe in Katosi, and offer that facility, and he's out in a short while. What incentives are you giving Dixon to make sure that he can tour this line for the next 20 years, the next 25 years? Yeah? And I see he wants to add on.
Let me first answer for him. Recently from UCC, and he mentioned Yokusav, we got a grant at Cinnamon. So clap for UCC and government.
I can see. You already have a testimony. Yeah. That is one testimony.
So I have a testimony. Before he even speaks, you didn't know, but we got a grant from UCC as Cinnamon. And to do that part of that smile.
Super. So if you could answer that.
Thank you. Like I said in the beginning, the biggest role of the ministry is to create a conducive environment. So who are the actors? Who makes the environment actually, who makes the environment conducive? It is the private sector. For us, we sit, we do the laws, we do the standards, and we leave the rest to the private sector. But with that said, we have also gone a little bit deeper into our actions. We have what we call the Innovation Fund. This building here and this place is under that Innovation Fund. Under the Innovation Fund, we support young innovators, people who have apps, people who have startups. This is the Innovation Hub which supports them. So as a ministry, we have supported that. And indeed, we have supported very many startups, and many are flourishing out there. The moderator talked about BPO. He talked about our young people. We have so many young people in Uganda, and these young people are mainly jobless. Actually, there's statistics which says most of the young people are either in agriculture or on border. So we need to change the narrative. And how can we do this? We can do this through BPO, business process outsourcing. This is whereby somebody sits in his house, in the village or in Kampala, and he does work for somebody in the state, somebody in India, somebody in a distant place. So the ministry is supporting business process outsourcing such that the young people can get jobs and can thrive. We have also worked with telecenters. I'll give an example of Nakaseke Telecenter. Nakaseke is a district somewhere near Luwero. We have worked with the telecenter, and through this partnership, we came up with a network. The network uses long-distance Wi-Fi. So we have put long-distance Wi-Fi in Nakaseke. We did this over 10 years ago, and that network still survives. We have also partnered with people in research. There are people who are researching in last-mile technologies. I'll give you just one example. There's a technology called broadband over power line, whereby we use the electricity lines to take internet. Yes, it's true. That cable which brings power can also bring internet without any additional infrastructure. So we have also partnered in that kind of research with the private sector. Thank you.
Wow, I like that revelation. How many of us knew that you could move internet along with a power line? Ah, I see experts in the room. Should be an engineer up here, I guess. That's a new one for me. But it goes to show you that we have the means within us. Why we are not doing this is a whole different question. Yeah? Many of us will say it has something to do with our cultural upbringing. How many of us believe that notion? Okay. You all believe that that's not the reason. But nonetheless, I will ask Lionel. And Lionel, this question anchors on the fact that you're building very advanced solutions for our hard-to-reach communities. But we're also faced with the reality that the Ugandan culture, the environment within which we operate as a people, is alive to us. And unfortunately, we cannot shelve it. So in what ways is New Grid ensuring that the solutions, the digital solutions that you're building are not only advanced in nature, but also pay attention to the cultural and environmental sensitivities within us to make sure that these communities and their uniqueness, their unique cultures and their unique environments, do not prohibit the good that comes with your technology. Yeah.
Thank you. As a fintech person, disruption usually is at the core of whatever we do. However, we are still cognizant of the fact that we live in a certain society. We need to protect our own cultural norms. However, from where we sit, we look at referencing as something that can give value to the societies that we work in. As an example, for those who come from the harder to reach areas, we find that the people in those areas, the youth, the women, may not have the ability to own property. And this, in most areas, pushes them away from access to finance. So what we've done for these areas is, through our profiling, we have enabled the women now gain access to finance without necessarily getting into the dynamics of ownership of collateral. So we allow them to use their reputation as collateral.
And you see, you talk about profiling, and something comes to mind. How many of us know footballers who are 18 years old but look relatively older than me? Footballers who are 18 years old but look relatively older than me. In your profiling of these communities, in getting this data, because you're talking about data-driven decisions, how has that journey been like for you? I mean, how forthcoming have the communities been in terms of giving you accurate information that you need to inform the other processes? How has your technology made sure that we can deal with some of these inconsistencies? Yeah, because you'll find that people actually probably even lie about where they come from. I probably defaulted in a certain space. Maybe I was somewhere, didn't pay back or something. Now I've come to a new place. And you can see that with a parish development model. I know of young people that are hopping from district to district, just collecting money. I don't know where they're going to use it or how they'll pay it back. But how are you handling this?
One, I would like to thank the government for improving the access to connectivity, and also from the side of information sharing. The central bank has gone a long way in preparing the financial space. They have standardized the data sets that are collected and those that can be utilized. NIRA has made good penetration with providing the national ID, which has become a core identifier for everyone. And through these identifiers, we're able now to create the profiles that deter what you are talking about. Now you are no longer able to move from district to district, borrowing money from circle to circle. Yes? And we've also been able to do this in part with other fintech providers, Agro Consortium, the MIS providers, the likes of Cinnamon Club. They play a very significant role in terms of also preparing the ground. Actually, they do most of the work on ground because they are the ones that are profiling. They are ensuring that the information that is collected is accurate. So by the time we are verifying the information, they have done the half of the work, if I can say. Yes.
Yeah, super. And now, Dixon, I come to you because you talked about something interesting. Sento zilya ngo muvubi. That's what they say. Sento zilya ngo muvubi. So you can clearly see that is a glaring cultural connotation. It's glaring, like it is the unspoken truth. How many of us, I know, I'll ask this question later. But for now, this is the homework. What unspoken truth do you know about Uganda? It is common knowledge, but no one ever says it out loud. We all know it. Yeah? Who wants to share? But just keep it for me. We're going to come to it. But the question I have for you, Dixon, is share with us some of, the potential challenges and obstacles that you have come across while implementing, this whole digital transformation of an entire community. You're trying to get them hooked. That's the millennial term, trying to get them hooked to this technology. What are some of the challenges that you've encountered? But also, how have you managed to strike that critical balance between technological innovation and the reality of Sento Zilyango Muvubi? So how have you managed to, balance the boat, since you're a fisherman?
Thank you so much. It's so delicate. It's a delicate balance. Because when a man who is as old as you looks at you in the eye and says, I have 4 children, and do you know how I've been able to educate them? Tell me, from that lake. It gives me money every day. So at you, what are you saying? Now, you tell him, but you see now, I see what? I see. So that's a challenge, because they have grown knowing, and they all believe that it is okay not to save, because they have a savior in quotes who gives them fish every day. So harnessing, going through the steps of taking them through, how do you save, why should you save, and you go as well as telling them, don't worry about money, save 1 fish. Say, hey, just 1 fish, that's okay, that I'll save it. So you talk their language. Save 2 fish on the second day. Of course, if he has caught 10, he thinks saving 1 fish is okay. But if you tell them save 10K or 30K, he's saving a cent. I don't save my money. But we've changed the connotation. At least save 1 chenyanja per day or per 2 days. So at least we are now talking their language, and they think that we understand them, and we are talking their language. Going into how have we been able to bring them to speed? They didn't even have. Actually, they had no records. So you cannot. We wanted to take their at first USSD, but someone doesn't even have a network. They're in the middle of the lake. There's no network. Someone comes back in the evening or in the morning. He has brought his fish. He has sold it, and he thinks of the next thing to do is to go and look for the next. If you know what I mean. The next person to spend the night with. I hope I'm talking to old people in their room. Yeah, so that's it. So we started by giving them books which look like accounting books. Save here, write here. Then from then now transform it onto we give them tablets. Transform it into it on a tablet. Or then now use your feature phone to be able to record your savings via USSD. But it's a challenge, and I want to thank. We are on the next steps to joining the community pass by MasterCard, where that will be history. Having no phone, having no feature phone, just coming with your money alone, you'll be able to record it because they are going to give us gadgets. We're even going to give the last mile person a card, which will have their profile. The next time they're going to save their 1,000 shillings, they are going to have to be using that MasterCard. So we are moving to digitize them and make them feel like, holding that card is just something prestigious. On those cards, we are going to make sure that if you get a facility to go and buy a night vision torch or a night vision torch or a jacket, we send you to the supplier. Send it to the supplier of those torches. Then instead, you don't go with cash, you go with your MasterCard. And your community pass card. You just swipe, you just give them your card, they swipe, and the money meant for the night vision torch or meant for the life jacket is actually performs the exact purpose it was meant for, as opposed to taking that money to the neighbor, if you know what I mean. Thank you so much.
Wow, that next level innovation. I mean, I can't think of so many young people here who would like to have that card. Just make sure they're not spending in the wrong places. You go out with your friends, you've pre-programmed. I see them shaking heads. Hey, you've pre-programmed what? 10K for beer, but you end up blowing 100K. But just to bring it back to Paul, because Dixon talks about the connectivity, the challenges. It sort of doubles back to a question of leveraging shared infrastructure as partners. So how can Uganda, we as a country, because yes, we are stakeholders, there is private sector, there is government, there is these beautiful people and myself, we are all stakeholders. But how can we all leverage partnerships? And I'm choosing that partnerships carefully. How can we all leverage partnerships with shared infrastructure to make sure that there is positive competition for the benefit of the last mile? That Atra, Dixon, and Lionel are competing, but positively for our benefit. Yeah? That you have Airtel and MTN, since you're their regulator, positively competing, significantly maybe considering the rates they're charging us for our card data, competing positively for the benefit of the last mile. How can we leverage partnerships around shared infrastructure to achieve that?
Thank you. The concept of sharing is very important, not just in ICT, even in our lives. It's good to share. When you share, you solve very many problems. In terms of infrastructure in Uganda, when these private companies came, each of them wanted to put their own infrastructure. And indeed, each company put its own infrastructure. And when each company puts its own infrastructure, it means they are using money to put up this infrastructure. So with everybody using money, it means the cost of services goes up. And who suffers? Me and you, the consumer. Because you have to pay back that money the company has used to put up the infrastructure. So what we did as a ministry, we came up with the broadband policy in 2018. And in this broadband policy, we compelled these companies to share infrastructure. And so far, this sharing has worked very well for masts. Right now, we have companies like Eaton, like ATC, who own the masts. We find one mast with several companies sharing. And because they are sharing these masts, it means the services will be cheaper to the customer. Now, the area where we have not yet achieved is the sharing when it comes to optical fiber. We have tried to implement the big ones policy, but so far we have failed. The stakeholders are so many. You all know that the road reserves belong to Ministry of Works. They belong to the local governments, and getting them on board can be a problem because most of these local governments, including UNRWA, benefit from these road reserves. These days, laying a cable in a road reserve is not free. By law, you have to pay UNRWA, and you have to pay them per kilometer. Yeah. And guess who pays that cost finally? It's the customer. Local governments, if you are to dig, you need a permit. You have to pay for that permit, and all that cost comes down to the consumer. So as a ministry, the best we can encourage is sharing, but not just sharing, but sharing on open access principles, whereby if I own the infrastructure, I don't take advantage of you who is sharing. We share on open access principles. Thank you.
Wow. When you talk about UNRWA charging, how much did you say they charge?
I'll check the figures, but I think it's $1,000 per kilometer, $100 per kilometer per year.
Per year. And they are Ugandans. Anyway, over to you, Lionel.
Just to add, I would say, again, in our part, government has standardized. Yes. They've helped us create a framework within which we all operate. Unlike 2, 3, 4 years back, where everyone coming into the fintech space came with their own standard and how they want to work, now you have to conform to a particular standard. Every credit provider has to share certain information if you are going to provide credit in this country. So that kind of information sharing, I think, has been driven by our government, because they come up with the policies, the regulations. Sometimes when you leave it to the fintech space, we tend to want to operate in silos. So I still have to commend government for the efforts they have made in that space.
Wow, thank you. And for me, a takeaway from this is really down with the digital silos, down with building in silos, yeah? Because what Engineer Paul has just described is the greatest tragedy of our country, yeah? That they probably want to lay fiber networks across the country, but then they have to pay. So me and you, the taxpayer, are paying taxes, and then the people we are paying to are going to pay themselves to. It's just a complicated thing, but I hope by the time we are done here today, we can have some way forward. So, Atra, back to you. And we're now in the final round of questions. So prepare your burning questions. I know you have so many. I don't know if the technical team has another roving mic, but it would be nice to help with that. So, Atra, could you share with us a specific success story where AgroConsortium's effort has had a transformative impact on a hard-to-reach community?
Thank you. So I'll just start by saying that impact is at the center of our business model as AIC. It's very crucial that we are building the resilience of the farmer and ultimately improving their livelihood. So there's many examples just to show how we've been able, so many success stories, but I'll just pick one. There's something called embedded insurance. I'll explain that. Embedded insurance is integrating insurance in a customer's experience. So that could be a product, it could be a platform. So something that insurers do very often is embed insurance on existing things that you're doing. If you're taking out a loan, for example, insurance will be embedded to protect you. So something that a lot of financial institutions have done is every time they give out a loan for agriculture, it is insured. It is insured by AIC, it is insured by the consortium. In the event that a farmer is unable to pay their loan because of drought, because of floods, because of excessive rainfall, the insurer then comes in to pay back that principal, right? That way the farmer is protected. So just imagine you get out a loan and you're pleasantly surprised. Arthur always says, the beauty with embedded insurance, you will be pleasantly surprised that you do not have to pay back because it was integrated into the service. So I think for me that's an example. I also want to point out that impact is best told by the end user. So we might sit here and tell all these stories, but only the farmer can say what we've been able to do. Only the fisherman can say what Dixon has been able to do. Yeah, thank you.
Wow. And I really hope next time we'll do our best to work with you to get the farmers, to get the women, the young people into the room so that you guys can listen and interact with them. But I like the concept of embedded insurance. I have a concept on that, but I think we should take it offline. I was thinking we can embed some sort of insurance on the price of a beer bottle or something to take care of these things. But you mentioned something important, and I want to go to Lionel. Lionel, I just want you to share with us here, for everyone in the room, to just get a feel of what new grids technology, that CRB technology has done to play a pivotal role in improving the quality of life of any one group or any one marginalized community you've worked with. So just an example of how your technology has transformed pivotally lives of anyone hard to reach community you've worked with.
Okay. As New Grid, we have, and we continue to work with SACCOs. SACCOs and VSLs are the financial backbone for the last mile. They typically do not, their customers cannot access banking services. So we have worked with them, one, to enable them protect their balance sheet against multiple borrowing. And one of the SACCOs that I'll speak about is Chamuhunga People's SACCO, which now has managed to increase the number of branches that they have in Western Uganda. Now, the increase of these branches further goes a long way to help provide financial services for these rural people. So through these entities, we are able to create that level of impact. We have also worked with VSLA platform providers to integrate credit referencing. And as a result of that, we've had partners who have come in and provided addition to these groups because they now have a digital footprint. Now, and these activities have enabled women, youths, startup businesses. They've enabled businesses gain money from the recovery fund to help them recover from the COVID implications and other things that impact their lives. So this is how we've been able to impact the last mile.
Nice, super, excellent. We have a fisherwoman in this country. Do you know her name? You don't know her name? Who knows the fisherwoman's name? Who can guess? People don't know we have a major fisherwoman. But just to try and bring it home, Dixon. So Cinnamon Clubs, by description, works extensively with these communities, the hard-to-reach area. Give us one story. I know you've told us about the fishermen, but we'd want to know, because we want the people in this room to really feel through your words what success looks like when we embrace the digital economy and to it.
Thank you so much. Do you remember the other fisherman who told me that oyogera chigwe tumanyi oyogerako, you don't know what you're talking about, because I've educated my children, from that lake without saving. He happened to finally join a savings group in Mukono. They have one in Mukono, I think on landing site in Mukono. So to me, it's a 360-degree turn of I don't want to save. I don't know. I don't need to save. I'm not supposed to save. It doesn't help me at all because I've lived all my life without saving, to being able to save money now. And he was actually able to get, of course, I know we saved his life. He was able to get a night vision torch and a life jacket for his life on the lake. The next time we meet, I'll bring a video of the wife. You'll understand the power of saving from the words of the wife. Thank you so much.
Wow, I would really love to watch that video. And yeah, it's something we would look forward to. But I think for me, as again get to Paul, is you solution providers in the private sector have a huge job to do, to hook all these different aspects of the community. For example, when you listen to what Dixon has done, very few people in this group, in this audience right now, would be willing to go and attend a SACCO meeting. But most of them would be very quick to get to their smartphone and probably start saving. But also maybe they fear some of these platforms because they feel they are not Ugandan enough. So how do we get to a point, and I'm using this word carefully, please don't use it against me. How do we get to a point where we intentionally secure our future as a country? Because it's a challenge. I don't know. I don't know if you guys feel it, but I wake up every day and I have to say a prayer because you just do a forecast of the country, the generations, and you're like, what does our person say? There is a new popular artist around town. Eh? Who knows the name? What's the name? But Paul, as government, the private sector have told you, for them they have built, and they're intentionally building for communities. Whether we get these communities to adapt or get left behind is up to someone who probably has more power to influence something that was mentioned earlier, mindset change. What is government doing to make sure that across the country we are singing one song? The Nigerians did something with their new president. He elected a new minister. I think he's as old as the gentleman there, or I don't know, probably Dixon. So this guy has rolled out a national digital skilling plan. Anyone can sign up everywhere. It's free of charge, but you're actually getting skilled by private sector companies, and you're getting placed in these companies to learn. Because this is their motto. They are aware that Nigeria cannot go anywhere in the next 10 years without having the right human capital that can handle this conversation of digital economy. Yeah? So this guy they've intentionally rolled out, I think by yesterday night, over 500,000 Nigerians had signed up. And different people. It can be a mother, it can be, as long as you are committing to a journey to learn. So government yetu yambe.
Thank you. You know, putting infrastructure, putting the services, that is the easy part. Now the hard part is people to get to use these services and the infrastructure. Now when it comes to adoption, there are several barriers. There are those who don't adopt knowingly, and there are those who don't adopt unknowingly. They are in two categories. So when it comes to price also plays a very big factor. There are those who want to adopt. They know the service is good, but they just can't afford it. And as a government, we are trying to reduce on the prices. Most people think the best way of reducing prices is through removing taxes. But if you look at the breakdown of if you look at the pricing of services, tax is actually a small component. There are other things in there which make things expensive. So as a government, we are trying to make things cheaper. Then for those who don't adopt knowingly, we are trying to work on the mindset change. We have a mindset, we have a program which does that. We are Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. The part of national guidance deals with the mindset change. So as a government, we have a program to help people change their minds. Then we also have a skilling program. This is done by the ministry, and is also done by UCC under the UCSAF. UCSAF has a skilling component. Then there are those who don't have devices. The network is there, but they just don't have the device. Why? The device is expensive. So under UCSAF, we also have a program to give devices. And what we did under UCSAF, we gave devices to the poorest sub-counties. According to you both, there are some counties which are considered the poorest. So we got those poorest sub-counties, and we gave them devices. And when they got these devices, the uptake has gone up. People now have skills people are using. So that's what we are doing as a government. Thank you.
Super. So ladies and gentlemen, we have listened to these brilliant minds. They have poured out a little bit of their knowledge. I know they have so much more, and I hope they can stick around and you guys can interact with them. So we're going to take questions. I am cognizant of the fact that we are winding down the Uganda Innovation Week. The vibe outside the hall is all over, and there is need to also go and partake in that part of innovation. You know, in the innovation space, you have to, you don't have to be serious all the time. Networking is important. So we're going to take, Kenneth, if you would allow, just 5 questions. 5 questions from the audience. The rest we'll deal with them. And please, when you get the mic, introduce yourself, your company if you can, and keep your question brief. Let's not be politicians. We said today we want to get to the point. So I see a lady there in pink, her hand is up. Lady in pink. You can also mention who you're directing the question to.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm called Wanyana Esther Sandra, a student at UICT. My question goes to the madam at the panel and the next gentleman. You've talked about insurance. Now, the example, I've grown up in town. I have an idea about it. So I have this like relative of mine who is far deep, you get. How are you going to be able to help those people out? These are the people who don't know anything about the MasterCards, the Visa cards, and all that. But they would wish to do what? To be innovators. And there are those village schools and all that, because I've been able to have a chance to move around all that and interacted with some of the students in the villages. So they look to be loving what we are having right now, but they don't have that opportunity. So kindly inquiring, how do you help such people in those deep far areas who don't have the opportunity? Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Next question. Okay, there's another lady and a gentleman over there.
I'm Prosi from Arosa Group Limited, an agro-processing company. I simply have an insight for Dixon. Before going into entrepreneurship, I was a medical person. And in my medical practice, I went to those islands, the fishing communities. And I'm so glad that when you're giving us the example, you talked about a wife. One of the major problems we were dealing with, we were only meeting women for these, they were the ones seeking health services, and many times they did not have the money because the men use all the money. In fact, they said what they do is steal any balance that the guy comes back with, because he comes back drunk. So you steal it, and when he asks next time, you say, I don't know, you did not come with any money. So my insight is I hope you're involving the ladies in this saving scheme. Because that's how they were saving for rent, for food, for health care, by stealing the money when he comes back drunk. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Percy. We'll check the gentleman at the back. And those are good insights, you know, the power of technology to make sure these women don't have to beg their husbands for money to go to a hospital.
Good afternoon. My name is Walter Court, an entrepreneur. My question goes to Paul, Engineer Paul Odoi. We've had a 3-day innovation week, but for the innovators here, I think you have a challenge with the prices of data. And since you're from the Ministry of ICT, I would like to ask you how you're going to help us evolve with the world. As you know, it is evolving, it evolves every day, like the MC said. So as we close the Innovation Week, I want you to assure us that the prices of data are actually going to go down so that we have more innovators coming on board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Walter. You have more guts than me. I will make sure the camera people zoom into engineer as he assures us on the data. 2 more questions. 2 more questions. Or if we have none, we can just ask the panelists to take those. Going once, going twice. 1 here.
Thank you, all the panelists. I'm Ignatius. I'm an IT practicing and an entrepreneur also. I had a question for Engineer Paul. I want to ask you about the costs of repairing laptops, and then giving us more information about helping the youth access devices, especially the phones and the laptops. Because we have a government policy, boo-boo, but I'm thinking if I can ask here how many people have the SIM, there might be none or one person. So at least we can have maybe tax exemptions for students and maybe some innovators, especially startups. Because you talked about business out processing, but I'm thinking the costs of the hardware can be like the elephant in the room.
Super. I like that question. It's very loaded, and I know engineer will take it on. So I think we are done with the questions. So I think there was a question for you, Atra and Dixon. There was a lot of questions to Engineer Paul, and then we'll, we'll do our parting shots. So Atra first, then Dixon, then Engineer.
Thanks, Ivan. So insurance penetration in Uganda is at less than 1%. Those are the statistics. So, like you rightly put it, it's up to us to ensure that that changes. So something that we are deliberately doing as a sector is to increase our sensitization and awareness drives. It's our mandate to go out and tell people. We are very keen on using a chain of trainers model. So if I tell you and you understand, you can then go and tell your uncle in the village about insurance. So as an industry, backed by our regulator, the Insurance Regulatory Authority, very, very keen on increasing the penetration, and that starts by sensitization. So that's something we are doing we are very big on doing that, just to increase the penetration and to allow for you to also go and tell another person about insurance.
Okay, Dixon?
Thank you so much. Your question was about what about that person in the deep village? How are they going to be helped in terms of automation and getting these digital tools? And the answer is we are starting one person at a time, one circle at a time, one savings group at a time, until we've reached the real last mile people throughout the entire country. We don't have the capacity to go to the entire country right now at once, but we've started with the Mukono landing sites along Lake Victoria. We moved to Lake Albert. For information, we have another big VSLA in Terego. I think in February we are going to Terego. It's a huge circle, a huge village savings group that saves and keeps money in their boxes. So when the box disappears, the entire circle's funds disappear. You know, when you see the treasurer looking at you like, you don't look, straight. Just know you think of the box he has at his back, because it has millions of the people's money. So we are moving to, I think in Feb we should be in Terego. So we are picking where we see interest. Who knows? We'll have enough capacity to cover the whole country, but at least we know wherever we go, we leave the people who are there happy and at least financially included. Thank you.
Okay, and all my camera people, please, can we focus the cameras to Engineer Paul for the sound bite? He's going to tell us about the cost of internet and the other questions. Shoot.
Yes, thank you. This question came from Walter, asking if the price of data will go down. Ever since the government liberalized the telecom and ICT sector in the late 90s, prices have been going down steadily, and they will continue going down. That I can confirm. They will continue going down. And what makes these prices go down? Number one is government policies, putting a proper conducive environment. That makes prices go down. Another one is just simple competition. Sometimes you don't need so much government intervention to have these prices go down. competition will simply bring the price down. So yes, prices have been going down, and they'll continue going down. Now the question is, how low can we go? How low can we go and still make Uganda a viable investment destination? Because these investors put in a lot of money, they expect a profit. So how low can you go and still make Uganda viable for investment? So for me, I think instead of thriving to go low, maybe we should instead increase people's incomes. Why reduce the price of the goods? Why not increase their incomes? I think that's a better strategy. But I can confirm the prices will go down, and they'll continue going down with the government intervention and with the competition which we have in the sector. So that's the question from Walter.
Yes, then there was a question here too.
Yes, then the other question was from Ignatius about access to devices. You know, we Africans like free things. You know? Free things can be good and free things can also be bad. We shouldn't expect to get free things for everything. You have to buy some of these things. But as government, we have tried to put some policies to reduce the cost of these things. Most people, when it comes to cost of devices, the first thing they look at is the tax. That is the first culprit. But if you look at the tax is actually a very small component of the price. I'll give you an example. We have people manufacturing in Uganda. They don't have that import duty tax, but the prices are still not as low as we want. So we need to really have better ways of reducing the prices and also doing access. When it comes to smart devices, through UCC under UCSAF, we gave some free devices, but we gave to the poor people, not rich people like Ignatius. We gave to the poor people. And we did this to increase uptake. We went to the poorest sub-counties and we gave them free devices. We can't do this for everybody, but that is a good start. We shall start with the poor ones